meeting so that any family that wants to use it as a resource in the future will have access to it as well. All right, so I specialize in treating anxiety and mood difficulties in kids. I specialize in particular treating obsessive compulsive disorders in children and adults. And I also have a background in resilience and happiness research. So all the recommendations that you're going to receive tonight are mindful to provide you with support relating to developing positive emotions and science-backed strategies. My family and I are Cuban, and I was raised in Puerto Rico. English is my second language, so bear with me if I blend metaphors. It's one of the beautiful things about being a bilingual person. I'm going to take about 30 minutes of your time, and then we're going to do questions at the end. All right, let's do this. Okay, so parenting in times of COVID, guys. All right, so let's talk about parenting in normal times is hard enough, right? The repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic on our children's lives really deserve our attention. Anxiety, I just want to clarify, is a normal part of childhood. And every child goes through phases throughout their development. Normal. A phase is temporary and usually harmless, but children who suffer from anxiety disorders experience fear, nervousness, shyness, and they start to avoid places and activities. So I always give it as a rule of thumb to my coaching clients that anxiety becomes a problem and you need support from a guidance counselor, from a coach like myself, when it's impacting our kids' functioning. They're functioning in the classroom, they're functioning with their relationships, the functioning in their lives. Okay. Anxiety is the most common mental illness in the US. Pre-COVID, it was 18% of the population every single year. That means 1 in 8 of our kids in the classroom, outside in the community, were experiencing some sort of anxiety disorder. However, anxiety is highly treatable. It's just found that 37% of those suffering with anxiety usually do not receive treatment, even though it is a highly treatable disorder. It is not uncommon for someone with an anxiety disorder to also suffer from depression, other behavioral issues, and we'll see that in some of the worldwide studies that we're seeing post-COVID of how that's manifesting. Adults ages 30 to 44 have the highest rate of anxiety in our country, with around 20%, 23% of people this age reporting an anxiety disorder. And anxiety disorders develop from a complex set of risk factors. It can be genetics, brain chemistry, personality, life events, which brings us to COVID. Okay, so let's talk about anxiety in the time of COVID. Studies worldwide have shown that the following impact on the prevalences. For example, in China, they went from a 13% average anxiety reportage of anxiety to 38%. That's a threefold change. In Bangladesh, families were reporting depression, anxiety, and sleep disorders, mild at a 30% of the population, moderate at a 20%, and severe at a 7%. Big changes for this country as well. And in Italy and Spain, almost 86% of parents reported changes in their children's emotions and behaviors during quarantine. And I'm sure all you as educators and as parents have seen the change in our kids at home and in the virtual classroom. So what all this information tells us is that we need to enhance our parenting and teaching practices to account for this increase in anxiety for our kids. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Today's topics are talking about emotions with our kids. This is what I call emotion smarts, promoting a growth mindset. I call that brain smarts. I want to help build positive emotions because they're incredibly protective. That's gratitude and hope. And I want to talk about your self-care. It's not just for parents, it's for educators. We all need it. And then tons and tons of resources. All right, let's talk about emotion smarts. So emotion smarts have to do with our intelligence in terms of understanding our emotions. And when we think about emotion smarts, it's helpful to help identify when our children are struggling with their emotion regulation. Anxiety can present itself in so many different ways, right? For example, your child might be having trouble sleeping or concentrating in the virtual classroom. We're not sure if it's behavioral or it might be something else going on. So I want you to take a look. And again, you're going to have access to this presentation in the future. to what are all the manifestations of anxiety that might not be overt worry of explaining, oh gosh, I'm scared of something. It might manifest in all these different ways. Tons of tummy aches, headaches, over preparing, perfectionistic tendencies might be a sign of anxiety, as well as anger and irritability. So when I think about developing emotion smarts in my coaching clients, I teach them about bravery first. So big emotions are usually a byproduct of fear. Fear of failure, fear of social interactions, fear to let those we love down, fear. So it's important that our kids know that what being brave is. I call this their armor. When fear shows up, we have a bravery plan for that. We want to explain to our kids that bravery isn't ever being scared, isn't like never being scared. It means doing something even though we're scared to do it. The interesting thing about fear is that while it's uncomfortable, it's often a sign that we're doing something new, something that we're about to learn, and it's also a precursor to growth. So the other side of that experience is bravery. In our practice, we always explain that courage comes from after slaying the dragon. You're not going to feel like slaying that dragon at first. We're going to feel scared. After slaying the dragon, then that's when you feel bravery. So we want to normalize to feeling fear, right? This is new. No wonder you feel scared. Anytime that we do something new, we might feel scared. Okay. So my recipe for bravery for our kids and for ourselves as well is we develop our brain smarts as well as our emotion smarts, and then we feel courage. And courage and bravery, I can use it a little bit interchangeably throughout the presentation. So emotions play a really important role in our lives, right? How we think, how we behave. Emotions compel us to act. It influences our decisions. It motivates us to take action. It influences our relationships, everything that we do. So the three things that I want us to talk about tonight in terms of supporting emotion smarts in our kids is that how we can validate our child's emotions with the connect and redirect strategy, how we support how to identify these emotions using visuals, and then encouraging engagement in a coping skill. So these are kind of the top three to support emotion smarts in our kids. So to understand emotional expression, I always teach my kids about their brain. This is a supercomputer that they're walking around with, and the software that it's running on is important for them to know what's going on, right? So this is a brain hand model from Dr. Dan Siegel. And if we do this with our hand, this is kind of a model of our brain. It kind of looks like our brain. So if you open it up, your thumb is right in here. This is the most primitive part of our brain called the amygdala, right? This is the department, right, in our brain, because every part of our brain has a different job. Its job is to keep us safe, so we call it the guard dog, right? We also have another department in our brain called the prefrontal cortex, or PFC, that's right behind our forehead. This is meant to help us plan, organize, and make smart decisions. Guess what happens when we have a big emotion? We flip our lid, guys. We flip it. So all of a sudden, our guard dog is exposed, and those are the big emotions that we're seeing kids that they're not able to regulate. They're not able to problem solve because that part of their brain that helps them problem solve, the wise owl, it's offline. So all of a sudden, they're not able to be the kid that you're like, oh gosh, you usually are able to manage this homework, but tonight, math is just not your thing. We flipped our lid. So, oh, that went too quickly. So the first strategy is connect and redirect. So as effective adults that have a lot to do and other kids to take care of, not even in our not only in our classroom, but at home as well, we want to problem solve right away. We see a big emotion and we're like, we got to fix it. What's going on? What's getting you mad? What are you doing? You got to get to bed. You got to do your homework, something, right? So I got to sell this to you guys as we need to connect first. Why do we need to connect first? Connection means we need to validate our children's emotion before we move over onto problem solving, right? The short-term benefits is that we need to move them from reactivity, from that guard dog mode, onto their wise owl for helping them use like their smart parts of their brain, right? When we just connect with reactivity back to them and problem solve right away, they're going to feel misunderstood. It's going to impact your relationship and your attachment with your child or your student, and they're not going to be receptive because their brain is not online in that way to help you with that. right? So first we connect. You have to communicate comfort. We got to get below eye level as you see the mom here. It's helpful to diffuse anger by using our evolutionary predisposition for mirroring. This means, as social creatures, if a person is modeling certain behaviors in front of us, if a person is yelling, we're more predisposed to yell back. We mirror each other. But if I'm activated in some way and having a big emotion, and the person I'm talking to is calm, right? Their eye contact is at my level. They're slowing down. Guys, this is a trick. We slow down our words and we lower our volume. Evolutionarily and biologically, we're going to start mirroring each other. So I always tell the families that I'm coaching, be the calm we want to see in our kids. They see us and they know what to do with big emotions. So if everything is going wrong and they're feeling really activated, yet we stay calm, we're modeling a template of what to do with emotions in that moment. And that's really important. Once we've supported coming back to a calmer space, we can help support our children identifying what they're experiencing. I love using feelings charts, having the depiction of the emotion along with the word. I want you to think about what it's like to be a child that might be experiencing these big emotions for the first time. It feels scary in there. You don't know where that's coming from. You don't know if it's disappointment or anger. They both make my stomach hurt. So how can I distinguish it? So helping them identify helps them clarify their mind and bring them to calm quicker. So these kinds of resources, and you'll have more feelings charts towards the end of your resources section, is really helpful to have, okay, let's point to what we're feeling right now and what it's called. It's also really helpful to identify the size of the problem. Gosh, I see it all the time in my practice. We're having a small size problem, but we're having a big reaction to it. Those things don't go together. So helping kids calibrate, okay, what's the size, small, medium, or big, and our reaction needs to match up with the size of our problem. Another example of a feelings wheel that I love is the emotion sensations wheel. So we start at the middle with the core emotions, then we have secondary emotions after that, because you can be feeling anger, but there's anger irritated is different than anger from an insecure place. And then the outside ring is really important. It gives us all the different body sensations. Our kids don't know that when we're feeling jumpy, that might be excitement, that might just feel like anxiety to them, right? So going with our kids to, let's point to where we're at. And I love using color with kids, right? Are we in the red zone right now? Like, is this anger or is this more blue? Like, are we sad? And let's go through it and identify what it is, because when we give it a name, it loses its power. And that's an important tool to have as a teacher and as a parent as well. So there are all sorts of coping skills out there that resonate differently with our kids. So I want you to experiment. One that I see is often helpful, especially in the times that we're having where we're in front of screens more often. We need physical coping skills, right? Asking our kids, like, let's take a deep breath. Like, they're going to be like, yeah, Coach Silvi, sure. Physical coping skills help us moving our body and helping us calm ourselves as well. This is a great visual to have it on your phone, print it out in your study space at home. Progressive muscle relaxation. We have a natural predisposition to tense our muscles because our guard dog is saying something is dangerous. So we got to get ready to fight, flight, or freeze. So this is a way where we're tensing our muscles on purpose in order to release all that tension throughout our body. So this is a great script to have. And you can do this anytime. I love brain breaks, and I know a lot of your wonderful teachers are using brain breaks in the classroom. So they're quick activities to get the blood pumping, to wake up our brains. These activities not only help support emotion regulation, but also regain focus during the school day. So I recommend having this printed, having this on our phones, and be like, okay, we've been in front of a screen for too many hours. Let's get up on this break and let's hop on one foot for 1 minute or do some jumping jacks. This is going to get their blood pumping and help not only regain focus, but also calm in their body. A calming breath, because we cannot get away from the breath when we're trying to support our kids as a calming strategy. This is a fun one because it's a roller coaster breath. So we ask them to imagine a roller coaster. They take out their hand like this, and we're slowly going to trace our hand up and breathe in, and then breathe out when the roller coaster is coming down. Just remind them that it's a slower roller coaster. So they're not doing like this. That's going to lead to more anxiety. So we got to make it a slow roller coaster. Okay. So now let's talk about brain smarts, guys. So brain smarts are my ability to understand and think about things in a different way sometimes. I want to help our kids be more flexible when they're thinking, right? I want to teach them that thoughts are so powerful. And this is coming from my area of expertise, cognitive behavioral therapy, or the CBT model, which I'll explain next. I want them to have a can-do attitude. So I know that this is usually part of our curriculum, helping them understand what is it to have a growth mindset of, I got this, right? A can-do attitude. The power of yet is extremely helpful in increasing hope in our kids and growth mindset as well. And then that mistakes help our brain grow. So I don't want them to fear mistakes. I actually want them to appreciate them for what they do for us. So our thoughts are powerful. The words in our mind can make us feel good or bad and can lead us to make helpful or unhelpful decisions and choices. So I teach my kids, something happens and then we think something. What we think then impacts what we feel and what we do. So they learn to say with me, we think, we feel, we do. All those things are connected. We can always change what we think to change the way we feel and what we do. Let's do a relevant example for our lives right now. Something happens like we have to attend school virtually for now. Two boys have completely different experiences based on their thoughts. The boy with the green sweater, it's not fair. This is hard and I miss my friends. They stop working, they argue, they yell. The school day, the virtual school day is really hard for them and it makes them feel mad and sad. Another boy is thinking, we're learning from home to stay safe and healthy. This is what we have to do right now. This is hard and I can do it. They keep working, they're feeling hopeful, calm, and confident. So it's really important to help them see that connection and maybe see the things that they're doing throughout their lives or even in the classroom. How are we thinking about this and how that's impacting what we feel and what we do? So let's talk growth mindset. It's a buzzword in education and psychology in the past 5 years because the amazing Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford has found that children with a growth mindset believe that their ability to grow, that their abilities are not fixed, right? That their basic abilities can be developed with dedication and hard work, okay? So the takeaways from growth mindset are, we are in control of our abilities. I'm not born good at math. I get good at math with hard work and dedication. With practice, we all get better. Practice makes progress. Mistakes are necessary to support knowledge, right, and brain development, and that we can change our thoughts with our words, which is also tying into that CBT model for you. So our brains are fantastic and elastic. I also teach our kids not only we have different departments of the brain that have different jobs, but we have this beautiful ability to make connections when we practice new skills. I explain to our kiddos that our brain has neurons, which are messengers. They're tiny cells that sends messages to one another. When you learn new things, when you do the same thing over and over and over again, your brain makes a connection, which makes these activities easier and you can do them better and better. So when you exercise your brain, things that were difficult before are always going to get easier. That's just how our brain works. And I want them to have that kind of life hack so that they're feeling hopeful of like, okay, it might be hard now, but it's not always going to be hard. This is where the power of yet comes in. So when our kids come to us like, I don't get it, I can't do this, just adding the word yet to that is core. It's core to growth mindset, right? It's not, I can't do this. It's, I can't do this yet. It's not, it didn't work. It didn't work just yet. It allows us to go from a space of feeling stuck to a space of problem solving and opportunity, okay? I encourage you to read this amazing poem about the positive, about the power of yet to your kids. Read it before bedtime, have it in their bedrooms, share it with your classroom, because it's important to continue to forge this kind of mentality that I might not be good at this, but it's just yet. Okay. So let's change our brain with our words. Instead of I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this yet, but I will learn. This is too hard. This will require effort in finding the right strategy. Gosh, I hear this all the time. I want to give up. I don't want to go to school anymore. I will succeed if I try and find a better strategy. I can keep going. So here's a parent's guide to growth mindset for you. It has elements of what you should be praising for, how to recognize our own mindset, what things to ask them to grow growth mindset as well. And you'll have a ton of growth mindset resources at the end of the presentation as well for you. Let's talk about positive emotions, guys. So gratitude. Gratitude is, I call it the head honcho positive emotion along with hope. So gratitude is a thankful appreciation for what an individual receives, whether it's tangible or intangible. With gratitude, people acknowledge the goodness in their lives. And right now, there's a lot of mental filter of what's wrong with our lives right now, right? What's missing, what we miss, what's not going right. So it's important that we understand the benefits of gratitude, so that motivates us to engage a little bit more. It opens up the door to more relationships, right? It helps our social relationships. Scientific studies have shown that people that are high in gratitude go to the doctor less. Actually, their immune system is improved, their cardiovascular system is better. And particular to COVID, it enhances our for some reason, our respiration system is improved by gratitude. It lowers our blood pressure overall. So lots of health, academic, and social benefits. So how do we grow back gratitude? We do a 3 good things practice. So this can be every day, as much as you can. We think back at what are 3 good things that happened today. 3 things that we're grateful for. For kids, sometimes identifying what we're grateful for is hard. So I just ask them, it can be as small as I liked the breakfast that I got today. I liked that my teacher did a breakout room and I got to talk to a friend, right? As small as it can be, it still has benefits. Here are some gratitude prompts to get you started. You ask them to finish the sentence. What's something that money can't buy that I'm grateful for? What's a memory that I'm grateful for? And you have more gratitude practice resources in the resources section as well. So hope is another very powerful positive emotion. It's a desire with a belief for something, especially something good. So the formula for hope is I want it, I believe I'm going to get it, and that creates hope. So benefits are hope. It reduces physical pain. It helps boost our circulation and respiration system as well. And optimism really improves our cardiovascular health, just like gratitude. So let's think about not only our mental health, but our biological health is improved by hope as well. So we want to believe that good things will happen. We view challenges as opportunities, and we want to know how to increase hope in our kids and in ourselves as well. So this is an evidence-based strategy called the Best Possible Selves activity, where I ask our kids, or we can do it ourselves, imagine yourself in the future, everything turned out as well as possible. Dream, it's time to dream big, guys, right? There's no limits to what this fantasy can be. And on a piece of paper, you draw what that might look like. Be super specific, imagine what you would be like, things you'll accomplish, places you'll go, what you're going to wear, what you're going to everything. Be as creative and imaginative as you want. This has been found to improve hope in our kids and ourselves as well. So helpful strategy to do. Let's put it all together. I want our kids to know that there's so many things that they're thankful for, right? Open up that gratitude filter in their lives, that their future is bright, that they can change the way they think to change the way they feel, because thoughts are powerful, and I can figure out how I feel so I can use a brain break or a coping strategy to feel better. Let's talk about your self-care. This is not just for parents, for all the educators here tonight as well. It's really important that we take care of ourselves first, right? We rarely put ourselves first, but it needs to be part of the equation. There's an adage that if you're flying on a plane, and someday we will be, guys, you have to put the oxygen mask on first before your kids. Why? If you're not okay, they're not okay. You can't pour from an empty cup. You got to build a community of support. I've seen amazing things happen with Facebook groups, with meetups, virtual play dates and things like that, that really build our community of support, because we're all going through this, and understanding that you're not alone in this is an important part of the equation. Make sure that you're delegating tasks. That's important. Don't take everything on. Make sure to reach out to friends, family, community members. Your PTA is a source of support. Help yourself delegate tasks so that you're not taking on too much. Engaging in restorative activities, key, and physical activity. I know we've heard it before, but I just want to call this movement. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go out for a run. Have a dance party with your kids, like during a break in class. Have a dance party during breakfast with your kids before they get on the Zoom. Do something to move your body, to do something a little bit different when there's a break in what we're watching on TV. We do jumping jacks, or we just do a brain break. These are physical activity movements we can engage in as well. Okay, so we all think of the self-care as like this ethereal bubble bath and the wine and things like that. No, there's all sorts of different types of self-care. There's physical, right? And this is where sleep, eating well, and the bubble bath might come in. But there's all these other areas of self-care that I want you to be aware of. You'll have these resources. I want you to take a look at the different areas and see how you're doing in each one. Rank them from 1 to 10. 1 meaning like, ugh, you're not doing good at all, and 10 is like you're rocking it. And then look at the different activities of what you can do, because there's more to you than just your physical self-care. We need to be mindful of our psychological self-care health, our emotional self-care health, spiritual, personal, and professional as well. I wanted to put together a self-care challenge for you guys. Here are 12 days of just one thing that you can do to increase your self-care. And this will be really helpful to just maybe have a challenge as a family or as a classroom. What's something that we're going to do today? Okay, tomorrow I want everyone to wear something that they love. Tomorrow I want us to go for a walk together. We're going to watch a holiday movie with the holidays coming up. Think of something that we can add to our day so that we can incorporate self-care. And these are some self-care ideas for families as well in all the different categories. Again, for emotional, we can, share how we love each other. For spiritual, we can do a gratitude list. For mental, we can read together. Think of all the different categories. And if you're low on one, boost up on activities on those. Okay, I wish I could be in your pocket all the time to give you resources. So here are some great apps that I love for your phone. All these are free. That help you with your self-care, mental health, social, emotional health. Insight Timer is fantastic. Tons of different resources there. In particular, if you need to calibrate and calm down quickly, I recommend Be Calm. It's a guided relaxation script. Tom Evans has a voice like butter, and it helps us calm down really quickly. Nothing Here But You is fantastic. And Muji has a beautiful calming voice as well for ourselves or our kids. Smiling Mind, free app that helps us support mindfulness skills, which are fantastic, and also the Thrive Inside program, which is specifically for times of COVID and quarantine. And Anti-Stress is a really fun little app with tons of games that just get our brain disconnected a little bit. And I want you to have that in your pocket so that you can support yourself. All right, so thank you so much for your time and your attention. It's time for question and answer. I think I left plenty of time, so go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and I'll be here for the remainder of the meeting to help you out. Thank you so much. Again, gracias. My name is Dr. Silvi. If you search and subscribe, I have a YouTube channel where I have tons of resources available for you guys in both English and Spanish. Okay?
That was wonderful, Dr. Silvi. I learned so many new terms and techniques. Thank you. This is really helpful to me. I look forward, and we'll have the slides. Everyone will be receiving the slides. It will have your emails to email it to you directly if you fill out the form that Carlson